Buenos nachos, muchachos, and welcome back to the blasphemy of football, otherwise known as the Semipro Saturday Show. I'm your host, Chris Dodson. Last week we had some good matchups. We had a couple of blowouts. We had big controversy. We had some good games. So let's get right into last week's scores. So last week we got to see the Vipers taking on the Panthers in Kansas City. Not a huge disparage, actually, in travel, so Vipers coming in from Columbia, not that far away. Good matchup, though, but the victor goes to the spoils. The Vipers away, 16-0 against the Panthers. Now, the next game that we didn't get to see, though, was the NWA Generals taking on the ECMO, or otherwise known as East Central Missouri Eagles. The Eagles are a team that have a chip on their shoulder because we haven't known much about them, but they keep winning games. Now, granted, against the Generals, which the Generals haven't really had a good year at all. In fact, since the division and the split off, the Civil War, if you will, they haven't won a single game so far. But it was a close one, though. But the Eagles come away with this one at 16-6. The Midwest Titans taking on the St. Joe Swarm. The Titans, I'm liking a lot from what I see from these guys. They, too, are playing with a huge chip on their shoulder, an even bigger chip. It's a cliff-sized chip. They come away with this one, 43-8 against the Swarm. The First City Cavalry, of course, they folded. Tulsa Gators get an automatic 13 points. Super easy. What can I say? Now we're going to send you down to Greenland, Arkansas to catch the Central Illinois Cougars taking on the Arkansas Warcats. And of course, the Warcats, they were so close. They were 2 points close, well, 3 points close at home. Unfortunately, just couldn't come away with it. They fall to 1-2. The Cougars keep winning, even on the road. Now that's a long road trip right there, but they come away with it 20-18. Now we're going to take you down to Oklahoma City to see the Wichita Skyhawks taking on the Oklahoma Bears. And your final score in this one, Bears come away, again, a close game against a really good opponent, I should say, but this is not the team that hasn't quite gelled just yet. We were expecting a little bit more productivity on the offensive side, but the defense is really keeping it in. If they start to gel in the offensive side, everybody watch out, because it's going to be an explosive team. But we'll get into that here really soon. Final score, 10-3. Now, some major controversy coming down. St. Louis Falcons, Missouri Cyclones were not able to finish the game. Close game, 10-point game, final score 18-8. But the storyline on this one is you had an erratic Cyclone player that got upset during the game, pulled off a Falcons helmet, swung the helmet, hit a referee in the arm on accident. I think it broke the guy's arm. Big mess. There's still an investigation going on this game. Will the score hold? Will there be any disqualifications? We don't know yet. We haven't gotten anything, so we're not even going to go down that road until we get confirmation from the league. So, without speculation or anything, we move on. So let's go into this week's rankings. So this week's rankings, you see Joplin still at number 1, the Bears at number 2, the Cyclones at number 3. Nothing changes there. A little bit of a changeover between the Cougars and the Skyhawks. The Skyhawks played a tough opponent in the Bears. They could have won this game potentially. Potentially. They could at least tied it up. Potentially. But last minute, last second, drops the ball in the end zone. Should have been caught. Wasn't. That's your game right there. And unfortunately, they lose, but they go up in the rankings because we got to see a tough road game for the Skyhawks, and they're going to be a contender, honestly. The Cougars drop down to number 5 on the road again. They beat a team that is a first-year team by 2 points. So I like what I see from the Cougars, but at the same time, it's not the same matchup as the Skyhawks and the Bears. Number 6. Number 6, for sure. Tulsa Gators. I think they're a team that had a week off, and I think they're going to gel a little bit more this week. We'll see how everything goes. Midwest Titans, number 7. Number 8, the Columbia Vipers. They keep winning. The ECMO Eagles on the board for the first time. St. Louis Falcons drop down to the number 10 spot this week, and that's going to bring us to this week's standings. This week's standings, you're going to see on the Gateway side, Missouri Cyclones at number 1 spot, the Cougars at the number 2 spot, followed by the Eagles, Vipers, Warcats, Panthers, Punishers, Falcons, and the Generals. Meanwhile, on the Great Plains Conference side, the Titans, the number 1 spot right now, followed by the Bears, the Crusaders, the Skyhawks, the Gators, the Diamondbacks, and finally, the St. Joe's Swarm. Both conferences, this is going to be tough. Because as we know, by now, you should know, and we are going to put up a graphic for this here by next week, the playoffs. Each conference are only going to have 3 teams that are going to make it to the playoffs. That's only 6 teams in the playoffs this year. This is going to be tough. So the only way to get there is to keep winning. Win as much as you can. Now, granted, it's a 13-point scale. Now, no matter if you blow out a team 100-0, you can only get a maximum of 13 points. On the flip side of that, if you're getting your butt whipped, you're not going to take more than a negative 13. So it keeps the things even and odds. It's all right. It'll work itself out in the end. The only thing you really have to watch out for is just really winning the game. When we come right back, we're going to get into the first roundtable of the season right after this.
Semipro Saturday is brought to you in part by 950 Ways Graphics. Professional graphics for players, coaches, and teams. Trust the pros at 950 Ways Graphics and look them up on Facebook at 950 Ways Graphics.
Since 1941, the Dickey's family has been smoking the very best quality meats, low and slow, for 14 hours every day. It's how Mr. Dickey did it, and it's how we still do it in every Dickey's restaurant across America. Lunchtime, dinner time, anytime. Eat in, pick up, or heck, we'll even deliver to you. There is no shortcut to what we do. Come in and see us or visit Dickeys.com. Legit Texas barbecue.
And welcome back, folks. to that blasphemy of Semipro Saturday and Semipro football. I'm your host, Chris Dotson, joined in here with our own Dylan Mills, who is our analyst in Semipro Saturday. Dylan, it's been an exciting time this year. We've been seeing some good matchups so far. We've seen a couple blowouts. For the most part, it's been kind of clean. I mean, we've had one incident that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, but tell me what your thoughts are on the season so far going into week 4.
Man, it's been really fun, seeing the things from the analyst side that I do here and then also coaching in Joplin, get to see kind of both sides of things. It helps me keep the big picture kind of all together. And there's a lot of good teams this year, man. A lot of equally yoked teams, and a lot of great athletes. So the first couple of weeks of the season were really fun, and it's going to be a great next couple months, I think.
Yeah, outside of week 0, which I thought it was going to swing the other way. I thought the Generals had it real put together. Little did we know that, whenever the teams split apart, which is kind of normal, actually, for Northwest Arkansas. These guys have had a history of getting together, gelling finally in one season, and then breaking apart because of many different reasons. There's been so many. So now you have the Warcats they're not a bad team. They're a first-year team. They do have some of that old talent, and they have some coaching. They just haven't quite gelled as much as they needed to, and here we are. But yeah, outside of week 0, we've been pretty good in terms of projecting who's going to win. So outside of that, I think we're 16-1 right now for the season. Point spreads, we're still working on it. We're outside of the measure, maybe 3 points on average, maybe 4. But there have been a couple blowouts that kind of throw that average out too. So I'd have to agree with you. It's been a fun year to watch some of these teams come in because honestly, you've got 5 teams right now. Your top 5 teams, 6 teams, maybe 7 teams that all have a shot and viability to make a run in the playoffs. And you're starting to see who those teams are. And you're going to get maybe a team or two at number 8 and 9 that are going to feel left out. Now, in the CMFL this year, which we're going to start working on the graphic here really soon, there are only 6 teams that are going to be going into the playoffs this year. So 3 from one division, 3 from the other. So that's going to be a lot of fun because that number 7 and 8 team is going to definitely feel left out. and it's going to be based upon standings, not rankings. And so what you see at the bottom of your screen are speculative rankings, which let's talk about those. Rankings right now, we're just based.
Despite their game the other night against the Skyhawks, Kevin Cox, he doesn't coach a lot of losing programs. So they are really poised to be pretty solid this year. I think the thing that, we talked about earlier was if you have a problem with the rankings, just win. And the rankings will take care of themselves. Right now, I'll tell you who surprises the